into the politics of this, George. And that's the way Bob Mueller's been his entire career. Near the end, we were talking about the on set here about the way they went through his career and how he's been mostly appointed by Republican presidents. But the one time he went in without being asked, what he asked was when he called former U.S. Attorney in D.C., later Attorney General Eric Holder, and said, "Can I come and prosecute local murders in Washington, D.C.?" This is a guy whose entire career, while he's been a Republican, in his public service, has been devoid of politics. He's not going to allow the Democrats or the Republicans to drag him into this food fight.
And Terry, it did appear to me that he was a man, perhaps of another time, playing by completely different rules from the Democrats on the committee or the Republicans on the committee.
That's a great point. It's like he's one of those stars from a black and white movie walked into a 3D color movie. It's a completely different world he's operating in, one in which he stays to his lane. He's not going to be used by anybody in this process. He's absolutely determined to stick to the facts. And let's face it, he'd lost a step or two, certainly as a public speaker. His mind seemed quick, but he couldn't find the words. And here are these, both sides revved up to the pitch of partisan intensity that we are used to, and they're going at him hammer and tongs, and he doesn't want to get involved. And in some ways, he can't play his end. He would never jump to the conclusion that either side was leading him to, even if it
succeeded in doing that to some extent. But I do think a few things were established that was important. One, the integrity of the investigation itself. I think he came back off as humble, and he backed up his team, and his opening remarks were, this is a neutral rule of law investigation. Two is the elements of obstruction of justice, and he made clear that he did not exonerate the president, and that the president could be charged after he finishes office if it's only 4 years. And I think that's important because the statute of limitations will not have run if he does not get a second term. So it makes 2010 very, very important.
2020.
2020, excuse me.
Yeah, 2020 very important, yeah.
And there was a tactic in the questioning from Republicans that was reminiscent for those of us who covered the Clinton impeachment, which is not the evidence, but who gathered it. And I remember Republicans back at that time being deeply frustrated with Democrats constantly raising questions about the fact gatherers, not the facts themselves. Role reversal completely.
Yeah.
And in both cases, what matters and what ought to matter is the underlying evidence. And what I found fascinating in this morning's proceeding is you did not see any concerted Republican attempt to undermine the assertion that these behaviors and this pattern of behavior from the president, if not criminally indictable as obstruction, certainly sounds obstructive.
Right.
They did not try to attack that assertion at all.
And did Paul, I want to bring in Paula Reed, who
wouldn't be not just a free person, they'd be in jail. And now the question is, would you really want the President of the United States to be this person?
Pete, as we go to you, I mean, people have seized upon, rightly so, this exchange between Congressman Lieu and Mueller, where he seems to say or acknowledge that, this OLC opinion is the reason that Trump wasn't indicted. But in other parts of the testimony, he's asked, was there sufficient evidence to convict the president? And he says, we didn't make that calculation. So did the Democrats get it as clean as they wanted to? This notion that but for this Department of Justice opinion that says you can't indict a sitting president, this president would be charged with a crime.
Yeah, this is one of the trickiest part of the special counsel's report, because here's what they're saying. Because of the Justice Department policy that says a president can't be indicted, we marshaled all these facts, but then we never decided whether any of those facts constituted a crime. So, in other words, he's saying, here's what we didn't do. This is what the report says. We didn't say, here are the facts. They constitute a crime, but we're not charging the president because we can't. That's not what it says. What it says is, here are the facts. Maybe they constitute a crime, maybe they don't, but we're not even going to go there because we can't. And he said, we're doing it for several reasons. Because of the policy about indicting a president, because of the matter of fairness. You can't accuse someone of a...
And by the way, that's going to be a different story. Like, we've been talking about the president's behavior. This is the crime. The next step will be outlining the crime that Russia committed.
And I wonder how much learning has gone on over the last 3.5 hours, and if we'll see a different handling of this particular.
Well, first of all, it's a different committee. It's a much smaller committee, 22 members, pretty much evenly divided. Congressman Adam Schiff is the chair. But also, this is what was asserted in the report, that Russia systematically attacked our election. And there have been multiple